So I'm just going to be talking about the pen tool. And to get started, we probably need to know how curves work. So there are curves, and they're drawn with handles and points. So there's point A and point B, or point 1 and point 2. And it might look like this. So the line is drawn from one point to another. And then there's another type of curve. This is called a cubic Bezier curve. And there's one point, and then there's a handle, and then there's another point. So as you can see, it's similar to the first one, only that kind of green line is replacing the line in between it. We're going to be drawing with quadratic splines, so it's this curve, and it's basically that previous one that I just showed you superimposed on top of this. So basically each point has a handle, and then there's 4 points per curve. This all sounds really simple and basic, but in the doc you'll see like a little Angry Birds thing, and there's a little handle on this line. So you're basically pulling a handle like you would an Angry Bird, and you are trying to make the curve so that you've got that nice trajectory. So here you'll see the points. I've just recreated this. It fits. Oops. This curve fits right on top of this. All the points are in the right place. You'll see these line up, these handles line up. And that's kind of the anatomy of a curve. There are points, there are handles, and you pull those handles out to make the curve. So in drawing these, you're going to want to use the pen tool. And the pen tool is mapped to P, so you just press P, and you can get into the pen tool. You can edit points with A, but after you've selected A and go back to P, then you can always go back to the edit point tool by pressing Command. So here I'll select this point. So I'm not changing tools, I'm just pressing Command to quickly change between that. And I can edit either the points or the handles with this tool. If I choose Option, this pulls the handles out in both directions. So as you can see, I'm manipulating both handles at the same time. And if I do Command and Option, it will break this. So originally the handles were connected, but now I've kind of disconnected them at the shared point. So if I undo that and I move this around, they're connected when I hold Command, but if I hold Command Option, that will just pull one handle as opposed to both. And if I hold Shift while I'm doing any of these commands, it will lock these handles to either up or down or left or right, so everything is kind of a straight line. This is super important when we get into kind of best practices. So let's just draw a line here. Using the pen tool, you just pull out. It pulls out both handles. Pull again, you pull out more handles. And again. And you can either close this or just hit Escape to exit out of it. And then to edit this, you can hold Command, and you can edit each of these points individually. So getting into best practices, here's a circle, and this is done just using the circle tool. So you'll notice that there are points on all of the extremities of this circle. So If you could see with anti-aliasing, there is, if you're on kind of a low resolution monitor, wherever the jaggy edges kind of stop and start, that's usually where you want to put a point. And this just helps keep your curves consistent. If you start like just randomly putting points all over it, the more points you get, the lumpier your curve is going to get, and the more difficult it is to keep that nice smooth curve. So ideally, you just want to keep points to the extremities of whatever shape you're drawing. So I could just pull out using Shift. You're going to probably want to hold the Shift key a lot when doing this. You could draw a circle pretty quickly and easily. So let's get into kind of more advanced shapes. So you could use all of these tools for just drawing basic circles and stuff like that. But S curves are probably some of the hardest and most difficult things to draw. So in general, when I just start a shape, I just kind of rough it out, kind of get the points in place. It doesn't matter too much how it looks right now. We're just trying to get the extremities of the shape in place. All right, so there's the basis of our S. And it doesn't look great right now, but now that I have these in place, I can go in and start pulling the handles and getting them in the right spot. And you'll notice all of these again are kind of on the extremities. This center part is most different from what we've already seen. So this is a more complex S curve. And a lot of people tend to like to put a point right in the middle, so that way there are handles on both sides going towards the outside of the curve as opposed to falling inside the curve. But if the points are if the handles are both going on the outer edge of the curve, that tends to be what you want to do. But you can kind of fake it at the beginning and just kind of pull out both handles parallel to each other. If you have a curve and let's say it's like, you've got handles, you can just drag them back into the point and they'll go away and create nice sharp edges. Tate, can you see this? You're kind of squinting. And if you're coming off of any of these edge points, it is okay to not have that be a perpendicular to whatever point you're using. You can have that come off at kind of an odd angle. So that pretty much sums this up. Feel free to keep working, or if anybody has any questions, that'd be great. But it's pretty simple. Basically, you want to keep all of your points on the extremities, and if you're like worried about your curve not looking right or smooth enough, you might have too many points. Simplification is really key to getting the basic shapes down. And after you've got the basic shapes down, then you can start to add roughness if that's what you're going for. But yeah, just simplification and refinement is super critical to making nice curves with the pen tool. Yeah. Yeah, if you hold Option while you drag out the handles, they'll both be the same. Yeah, what's up? I tend to do the pen tool freehand, and like I just showed you with this this S, I just kind of throw the points on the page and then move them around until they look right. I find geometric stuff, I end up with like O's or things that are meant to be very symmetrical. Sometimes I will, start with a geometric shape, but there is like a ton of editing that I want to do here. So, I've got this, but I usually want to square off the edges a little, the curves a little bit. So let me just get in here. Yeah, especially making the side handles a lot longer. Oops. So yeah, something a little bit like that. But yeah, for the most part, I just start with points. I kind of know where they're going to fall. And just like spam the shift key. Right, and then I'll just tweak this because it doesn't look that great right now. So the other day, Alicia, I think, was having a problem with mirroring something, and one way that you could do that is the Pathfinder tool is a great way to split apart shapes. So here I just have those two circles, and I just drew a line through them. And you can split apart with the Pathfinder, and that will create a bunch of different shapes. Just ungroup that, and I'll have half of an O to then transform. What do I need help with, Ryan? So yeah, from here on out, it's just going to be lots of practice, and you could practice in here. There's S's are really very, very, very hard, so that's why I put one on here. So you could spend like hours just doing one of those. I find that the handles usually have to be longer than I think they should be. Glad it helped, Brent. So I'm just drawing this A here, but notice how the curves don't have to be the total form doesn't have to be one shape. So there might be some overlaps, and this is really good in allowing you to have control. You'll notice that, like, especially with letters like the like a K or something like that. So I'll just draw this. You can make these little bow tie type moves, and this allows you to move each point individually. So I can move this point and it doesn't affect the line for the upper part of the K. It only affects the line for the lower part. And this point, I can change the angle of the lower line. Ideally, maybe these should be two separate rectangles, but I can break apart the shapes a little bit to give me a little more control over where the lines go. Just fill that in, and then it creates kind of a shape.